Roosevelt Hoover game, a backyard brawl right here in Central Iowa.
And as always, on Friday nights when you're out and around, you can go to 13now.com. That's 13now.com or iowasportsconnection.com as we update scores throughout the night. Kevin Cunningham and Maggie Sutton back there. Why does it say Maggie?
Maggie's the baking wizard. Sutton.
Yes. They're back there getting all the scores in on the girls and boys side throughout the night at 13now.com and iowasportsconnection.com.
And I wish our great sponsor, Hy-Vee, I wish Brad Waller was in the studio.
He says that's.
He always wants to know when the Waverly-Shell Rock coaches would come on.
I have to
whatever
rank
the sport is.
I don't want to rank them sometimes just because of him.
So Rick Caldwell's kind enough to join us from the rich tradition that is Waverly-Shell Rock Wrestling up in Northeast Iowa. How are you, Coach?
I'm great. How are you tonight?
Superb. You remember the Waller family up there? Well, Bradley always tells us each and any time that we have a Waverly-Shell Rock segment that he wants to come in the studio with us. But tonight, he little frigid for him to get out tonight.
Yeah, I know the Wallace family.
Great family.
Well, Coach, last week we talked a little bit about it with Wyatt Schultz out of the predicament. He was up there covering it on Friday night, left there for Saturday to the Benton, but always a great event. The Clash up there in Rochester, Minnesota, and you're one of the perennials from Iowa that get to make that trek up there and show the power of the state of Iowa. How'd that go for you last weekend?
You know what? It was a great tournament, as always. Those folks up in Rochester, they put on a tremendous event with a whole bunch of great teams. I think they had 12 or 13 nationally ranked teams in the top 25. We came in, we were a number 2 seed, which means we're between a 5 and an 8 out of the top 32, and we ended up 7th. So we kind of wrestled to our seed. We lost a few duels along the way that could have gone either way, but the competition was great. Our kids got better because of it, and that's the main reason we get up there. It's the competition is as good as you're going to get in a dual meet format for the high school teams.
Every Friday night, Coach, we talk to wrestling coaches across the state, and they say this time of year, going to a meet like that is preparation for, it's no secret, the drive to Wells Fargo Arena. Is that how you look at it at Waverly as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to seek out the best competition we can, just like everybody else. We're no different. We try to find the best competition we can find and learn as much as we can. And, hey, if we get beat along the way, that's fine, because the more times we get beat, the better we're going to be in February.
Well, it's been pretty consistent in Class 3A. If you say the names of Waverly-Shell Rock and Iowa City West, you know that you've got 2 teams that you're going to be familiar with once the traditional state tournament or the dual state championships in Cedar Rapids get underway. Bettendorf is right there as always. I think from this area, Southeast Polk's going to be one of those teams that challenge. But over the years, is it going to be Iowa City West? Is it going to be Waverly-Shell Rock when you look at the past 4 or 5 years? This year seems a little bit more balanced. I know you guys are really both wrestling very strong, but do you see a lot more balance in this year's traditional meet?
There might be some more balance. It kind of has been the last couple of years anyway, the Iowa City West, Waverly-Shell Rock deal, but Bettendorf's real good. They were good last year. They're going to be outstanding this year. Southeast Polk, Jason Christensen over there at Polk, he does a great job with his program. And there's some other teams across the state that can contend with those top 4 teams, but it'll probably be the 4 of us battling out for those 3 trophies I would assume at both events, the Wells Fargo state traditional title and Cedar Rapids in the state dual meets.
Well, I know one kid that everybody's going to keep an eye on because they want him to play as a football side of things at the University of Iowa, but he's also trying to get that 285-pound championship under his belt, and that's Cody Crumweedy out of the Gohawk town. Talk about Cody and how he's developed this year, moving up in weight class a little.
Yeah, Cody Crumweedy is an outstanding high school wrestler. He's a 2-time state champion for us. He was 6th as a freshman. I think he has one loss on the season. It was an overtime loss at the Clash. But, he's looking for his third. He's been wrestling well. The transition from 215 pounds to heavyweight hasn't been a difficult one. He is a little small for heavyweight. He probably only weighs about 235 pounds right now. But he knows how to wrestle. And if guys will wrestle him, I think he puts a lot of points on the board.
Well, Mike always talks about it, fathers and sons and relatives, coaching, all that. And a kid at 152's got a familiar name, and that's Cody Caldwell. Talk about that senior.
Yeah, my son Cody, he is a senior, and he's a two-time state champ as well. He plays fourth as a freshman and has won the last 2 years. He's having a great year, having a lot of fun, and getting better every week out. He's a University of Wisconsin signee. He'll be wrestling for Coach Barry Davis in Madison next year. If you remember, Barry Davis was a three-time national champion for Coach Gable at Iowa, and he's really fired up about that. So that whole senior class, we just talked about my son Cody and Cody Crumweedy, and I have a real good group of seniors that have been around for a long time, and they're looking for big things this year.
Coach, I know your color scheme up there at Waverly. Is that going to be tough for Cody to just the first time to put that red and white on?
You know what? It'll probably be a nice change. It's been black and gold since he was 5 years old, so it'll be a little more difficult for me. Everything I own is black and gold. So,
well, congratulations on him getting that scholarship and going up there to compete in the Big Ten.
You know what? Thank you very much. The Big Ten's a great wrestling conference, and Cody visited four universities, and he just fell in love with Madison, the guys on the team, and the coaching staff. And I think right now the Badgers are ranked third or fourth in the country, and they're looking to get another trophy this year. They were fourth at the NCAA tournament last year. They have a young coaching staff, and I really think they're going to be one of the premier programs.
Rick, here's the test to see, and we know how tough Cody is, but he goes next year into Camp Randall. They're playing the Hawks, and he cracks out the Hawkeye hat. That'll be a test of how tough he is.
You know what? If he puts on a Hawkeye hat in Camp Randall, I don't know if they'll make it out of there alive.
Well, you talked about your senior leadership, and another guy we want to talk about for sure is at 125, Tanner Werner. He's ranked #1 in the state right now by the Predicament's latest rankings. Another one of those seniors you're looking for to lead the way.
Yeah, Tanner's wrestled well for us all year. He's a kid that probably not a lot of guys knew about a couple years ago. He was as a freshman, he was a junior varsity wrestler for us. He was a qualifier as a sophomore. Last year, he ended up fifth in the state tournament. And you know what? The kid just kind of keeps his nose to the grindstone, and he does what we ask him to do, and he trains year round, and he's built himself into one of the top 125 pounders in the state. It's a really deep weight class, but he's right in there in the hunt for a gold medal.
Real quickly, Coach, before we let you go, you've been in this wrestling world for a long time, for a while, and you understand it. When you look at this last decade in Iowa high school wrestling, some of the changes that are made rule-wise, a lot of positives as far as the kids' health and welfare goes. How do you see the state of wrestling here in Iowa high schools?
You know what? It's very strong. The teams that are allowed to travel or have the means to travel and go out and see some other teams from other states, we fare well. We represent the state very, very well. I do a lot in the off season with the Iowa Wrestling Federation, and we travel nationwide and try to find the best competition in the country. Team Iowa does a great job every year. I mean, I think our caliber of wrestling is very, very good. If there's one thing that kind of slows us down a little bit right now, and this is probably a topic for another night's discussion, is I think I've been a head coach maybe 22 years, somewhere in there, and there's a lot of kids moving schools. There's a lot of families moving into other programs, and it's making it hard for your local kids to put together a team and win a trophy at the state tournament.
Yeah, that is a topic we can discuss at another night, and I'd like to have like a roundtable conversation, because it's happened, it's prevalent in about every sport, but we're up against a hard break. Rick. We certainly appreciate you taking time to join us on Friday Night Live, and we'll see you down at Wells Fargo Arena.
Sounds great.
Rick Caldwell, and the guy's done an incredible job with the wrestling program, the rich tradition that is the Waverly-Shell Rock. Go Hawks. We're going to get back to some scores and conversation on basketball here on Friday Night Live.